see that bucket? You know we had one.
You're supposed to pass it down.
I think I put the fridge. We'll get to the yeast in that. Put your dough in your bowl and then measure your water. Okay?
There's 3,000 units in my bowl.
No.
This in the big bowl?
Is there an extra one?
Just transfer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, transfer the dough into the big bowl. Yes.
All right.
Then get your dough to a point and then just have one bowl do the actual kneading it. So you have to rotate the dough in and out of the bowls. You know? Okay.
So
Good.
we have this dough.
Yes.
Alright. You're wanting us to add 2 cups of water to this?
Yes, this is old dough. You're gonna make more bread than this. This is simply your old dough you're adding to your new recipe.
So we're going to put 4 cups.
So we're putting 2 cups in here.
Now 2 cups of water.
Yeah. You're following this recipe. Yeah. Yeah.
Should we switch out? You are right.
Yes, that's
80 degrees. It'll work.
as close to 80 as you can quickly get. Don't get too caught up in that right now. If you get close, we're doing good.
80 degrees and the flour and the water together.
Yes.
So you measure it before you put it in there?
You would take the temperature of both, and then do some rough math in your head and say, okay, how water's about this hot. You know? They've probably figured out how hot the water should be, but you know what? How they could without taking the temperature of the flour.
I think you take the piece.
You know the temperature of the flour, then you have no idea what happens. It doesn't matter. We make it work no matter what. But that would be the ideal is to aim for it. You know what? I'm going to show you, and you're not doing anything. I want my big bowl back. And then I'll give it back to the person after I need it. I'm going to try and show you all how to do it. I'm going to use a pot that I never used before. We're going to transfer yours. How do you say your name again? Sorry, but this is yours. This is somebody else's, right? And your name is Alicia? Right. We're going to transfer you back into a small bowl for might need to show this. So it'll be back on here. That's what's fine. I'm going to be so much happier with this bowl. So much happier. Okay, and you know what? So we have more room. I'm probably going to do this here. I think where's the most room? Maybe we should move a table to a bigger space. So I want everybody to get right around and see, and not have me.
How about we back this one up?
Back that one up to 100%. Yeah. And if you'll give me my. That's fucking great. And Tom, this is all the flour called for?
I didn't measure the flour.
Oh no, that's that's his thing. Oh.
Okay, this is your flour you measure this for your recipe?
Right.
Okay. All right, so this is all the flour called for in the recipe?
No, that's 5 cups.
And how much is called for in the recipe?
5.5.
Okay, yeah. You will not use this much.
Okay.
Okay. You'll put half of this in and see if you can get a dough started. And then probably 1 more cup at the most.
Okay.
It's way less than you think. Okay. So everybody get that, okay? The recipe's going to tell you a certain large amount. No. No, 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 no. Bold, italicized. Stay out of hell. Okay? All right.
You're welcome to use from
Well, I will. I'll just use this.
Yeah, I mean.
The truth is, I don't measure my flour at all. I do flour totally by feel. Okay? It is the opposite of baker's percentage. And I learned this when there weren't digital scales and there weren't books about baker's percentage. I'm a self-taught baker. I didn't go to baking school. Had I gone to baking school, I would be locked into baker's percentage and couldn't do it any other way. And indeed, I spent a couple of hours at the Sustainable Ag Conference talking about baking with Jennifer Lapidus, who's doing the Red Flour Project. And she kept trying to talk about baker's percentage. And I have to catch her sometime and say, you know, I didn't mean to shut you on there. It was never part of my life. I just never did it. I don't do it that way. I think it's probably superior, you know. But I think it's probably overkill for a home baker. I don't think you need to have another digital thing in your house. I think you'd be fine without it. Plenty of people take my class say, Pat, I still like to do it that way. You know, if you want to understand baker's percentage, I can kind of explain it to you. But having never embraced it, I would say just read Jeffrey Hamilton. He gives a great explanation of how to do it. Do people get that? I think I said it right. The way they do it is the number one number is the flour. So they say, you know, 100% is the flour, and therefore 0.05 is the salt. You know, usually 72 or 80 is the water. You so forth, you know. And you got to do that kind of math, you know. Maybe it's because I don't like math. I don't know, but I don't do it. So as long as I have the salt and the water right, it doesn't matter at all.
I would just get worried about going to hell.
I go to hell all the time. I'm not afraid of hell.
We'll see you there.
I'm not afraid of hell at all, you know. I actually kind of like it. You know, I kind of like, it's pretty amazing to have this dough that is dead and unresponsive, and just like you're not getting any satisfaction from it, and you come and you get your hands sopping wet, and you just get the dough really wet, fold it on itself, and you walk away for 10 minutes, and you come back and it's much better. And you do that a couple more times, and it really, it's hell because you got to clean your hands. It makes a mess. But mostly it's time. If you just give it time, it reabsorbs, and all of a sudden this dead blob becomes wonderfully supple and alive. You know? And it's like,
So it's not that bad.
yeah, it's, I shouldn't say it. I want you to be afraid. You have to be afraid of it. You have not been burned yet.
Okay.
You don't know the fires of hell.
I want to stay out of this. I promise you that.
Yeah. It's better to learn not to do that. But it's not really that bad.
What's the reason you're not putting the salt in at this point?
There's actually all kinds of reasons. And I won't be able to take advantage of some of them. But a really great reason is to, I tell my students at John C. Campbell, really, you can just get the New York Times bread, no need bread recipe, and go home now. Because it'll make great bread. Okay? A trick in there is it uses less salt than normal, which means it's kind of flavorless, actually. It's got great texture. Has anybody made it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a little off on flavor?
Yeah, not quite. But I always think it's just me.
No, it's not you. They use less salt because the salt slows down the formation of the gluten. That's another thing salt does, is it tightens the gluten, and it won't come together. Okay? Acids do too, so they don't use sourdoughs, because they slow it down, because you're not kneading it all. They're cutting out 18 hours for the gluten to form. Water and flour only, because everything else causes chemical reactions that tightens the gluten.
And that's the sponge, is the flour and water.
No, that is a sponge. You're doing, I'm on direct dough now.
Okay.
Only to say, if you do,
Okay.
well, I'm confusing it because there is this other time where I talk about flour and water too. Okay.
Okay.
But this is, if you're doing direct dough and you want to autolyze, okay, that's the term for this, right? It just means mixing the bulk of your flour, right? The flour, you got a darn good sense, is not going to be way too much, right? And your water together and leaving them for 20 minutes. It's not a sponge, there's no fermentation, right?
Okay.
It's just water and flour. And lo and behold, the gluten aligns itself. Relatively, but it's awful easy and great texture, and butter tastes good. You know? So, it's not a bad recipe.
And what about sifting your flour? Never?
Don't bother.
Okay.
I mean, maybe for cakes, but that's why I don't make cakes. You know? You do not need to sift your flour for cake. You know, you are wasting your time, unless you've got strange stuff in there. You know, but otherwise you don't need to at all. Okay, so I had some flour in before I chopped up the dough. And I've never done this without chopping the dough up. But it does get the active ingredients in the old dough going faster. You know, it's not critical though. It will knead through. That's something to know, which bakers learn, because inevitably you leave the salt out, or inevitably you leave something out. It's incredible how far you can be in the dough making process and still totally incorporate an ingredient. You may think, oh, I'll never get the salt mixed in there, but you can have a dough, and if you just knead it for 5–10 minutes, knead it well, you'll have the salt mixed through the whole dough. It won't be a problem. So it's never too late to save a dough until it's in the oven. Or unless you've been proofing it for tons of time and you've worn it out. You know, but that's close to having it in the oven. You've had it in a lower temperature at that point. Okay, so at this point I will add the yeast. And a word about the yeast, I never do that yeast in the water thing and make sure it's live. I make sure I have good yeast. And it's purely an aesthetic thing. If you put yeast in water, you always get these little globules that don't come apart very easily, and they just bother me. I mean, eventually in the kneading process, most of those disappear, and by the time you bake it, you don't even see the few that didn't. But I don't like it, so I don't do it. You know. But there's nothing wrong with doing it, and indeed, if you're not sure of your yeast, by all means, proof it and make sure it's alive. Because you do not want to go to all that trouble and have your bread not work because your yeast was dead. Okay, so I'm getting that mixed up. I'm definitely going to need more flour. And I'm not going to autolyze now because we don't have time. But if I were doing this at home, I would do, and it's it's not even a true autolyse, but it still has a lot of effect. And why it's not a true autolyse is the old dough has yeast and salt in it. So it's going to affect the gluten. But in my class at John C. Campbell, I've been doing that for about, I guess, 12 years. And because we know the concept and people are baking all week and paying attention, and they do things like go to lunch and come back and leave their dough when they just started eating it, we've learned that in every situation, if you stop and give it time, a bunch of the kneading happens for you, even if you have all the ingredients in. So you can literally make spectacular breads that you knead it for probably no more than a minute and a half. Because you knead it once and you walk away. You know? And you come back, and it's easier to knead it when you come back because the dough's relaxed. It's not resisting you. And then you knead it again and you walk away. And then you know it's ready when you do this little push test that I'm going to teach you. And you may have just kneaded it for like a minute or a minute and a half. And that happens to me all the time at John C. Campbell because I'm teaching. And so I don't have time to do my dough. I start it and I walk away and I come back. But my dough comes out oftentimes it's better than everybody else's because I know other tricks and stuff. And I got my kneading done in maybe a minute and a half. So I'm going to knead more flour. Some more flour. And now I'll put the salt in. Why the salt is going on top of flour is, it's once again, it probably really doesn't matter. But because I know the salt will kill the yeast, I make it a mission not to put salt on top of yeast because some of those yeast are dying with the contact with salt. Now the truth is, in a given, 2 tablespoons of yeast or whatever we're using, there are at least millions, if not billions, of microorganisms. And the salt's not going to kill anywhere near all of them, and it probably doesn't really matter. But it's, like in gardening, we talk best practice, right? You can do things this way, and yes, it'll work. But if you want to do the best practice, you do it this way.